Hey, I don't know how many of you out there follow Mr. Guns and Gear on Instagram or on YouTube. I'm sure most of you follow him on YouTube. If not, and you're looking for a good product-oriented channel, I definitely say go over and subscribe to Mr. Guns and Gear and follow him on Instagram. And today I want to talk about one of the things he posted on his Instagram feed. A few days ago, he posted a video of a gentleman having what we like to refer to as a slam fire with his handgun. Now, before I actually show you the video from his Instagram feed here, I want to tell people this video is slightly disturbing, but it is not graphic. If you're someone that doesn't like blood or gore, etc., don't worry. There's nothing graphic about this video, but like I said, it is a little bit disturbing. If you watch the video, you can see the gun appears to fire when he releases the slide release. It fires without the trigger being pulled. Now, I know a lot of people in the video comment section said, well, that couldn't happen. He must have pulled the trigger. There was a lot of comments on there about slam fires, about whether they actually happen, about how they happen, etc. And a lot of them seem to be misconceptions. So I wanted to make this video today to talk about slam fires. When you look at this video, there's a couple of things you can see. One is that it's either 1985 or Russia, based on the stonewashed jeans. The other is that it doesn't appear that his finger ever pushes the trigger, at least not enough to actually fire the gun. A lot of people say his finger must have pushed the trigger. I don't think so. When you look at this, I just don't think his finger is in a position where it could have possibly pushed the trigger far enough back to activate the firing mechanism. So I do not think he pushed the trigger. I actually think this is a slam fire. And that brings up the topic of slam fires. What are they? How do they happen? What happens when you have a slam fire? And how do you prevent them? So I thought I would do a simple little animation here. This is just a simple basic animation of a gun slide. You have the slide, you have the barrel, you have the firing pin, and it sits in the firing pin channel here. Now, first off, I'm going to say the firing pin is usually held in place by springs, but I'm not going to complicate this diagram with springs. Let's just pretend we know they're there, or maybe this is one of those communist bloc countries with a free-floating fire pin, which that gun in the video might have been because I don't recognize it. And let's simplify things here so we can look at what actually happens during a slam fire. Now, we all know what happens when you normally fire a gun. You just chamber a round. The round is sitting there waiting. You pull the trigger, it goes off, and you're ready to start over again. But let's look at it a little bit slower here. Once you've chambered the round, once the round is in place, the firing pin is held back. When you fire the gun, whether it's just a sear or a hammer or whatever, something forces that firing pin forward. It strikes the primer on the round goes off. The slide cycles, ejects the old casing, a new round is forced up from the magazine, it is chambered, the gun goes back into battery, and you're ready to start all over again. Now we get to what is a slam fire and how does it happen. Well, slam fires can happen usually under two different circumstances. When you're just loading the gun or when you're out actually shooting the gun. In this video, it appears to be when he was just loading the gun. Now, slam fires are caused usually by one thing. Now, I have seen them happen because of foreign debris in a gun, but the vast majority of the time, they're going to be caused by one thing, and that is a stuck firing pin. You have a gun that's ready to be loaded, but instead of the firing pin being in the back position, it's all the way forward and it's stuck. Therefore, when you go to chamber a round, you rack back your slide, a round is chambered, it's ready to go into the chamber there, and when you hit the slide release, the slide slams forward with the firing pin protruding, it hits the primer, and the gun goes off. That's probably the most common type of slam fire. The other time it can occur is while you're actually shooting the gun and you fire a round or 10 rounds or however many rounds you fire first, and then for some reason or another, the firing pin becomes stuck during the cycle, and the next time the slide slams forward, it fires without you pulling the trigger. No matter which way a slam fire occurs to you, whether it's while you're loading the gun or while you're firing the gun, it's a bad thing. And it really emphasizes how important it is, especially when chambering around or decocking, etc., it is to keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, either into a clearing bucket at home or downrange if you're out firing your gun. Now, one way that a slam fire can become even worse, though, is if it goes full auto. Now, usually in a slam fire situation, from my experiences, I have seen that the firing pin becomes unstuck on the first slam fire and it doesn't happen again. But sometimes, especially if it occurs while you're firing the gun, the firing pin can remain stuck and the gun can go full auto. That is especially bad because not only is it dangerous and hard to control the gun when you're not expecting that, but we've all seen stories of people being charged for having a full auto firearm that isn't registered, even though it's not really a full auto firearm. They get charged for something that happens unintentionally, often through negligence. And what I mean by negligence is it's pretty easy to prevent slam fires. There's really one way to do it, and that is clean your gun. There's no excuse for not cleaning your carry gun. You're not some sort of competition shooter trying to fine-tune a barrel. You're carrying a gun for self-defense that has to work properly every time. So keep it clean. Take it apart. Inspect all the parts. Make sure they're clean. Make sure they're functioning. Make sure there's nothing on them that would prevent them from moving. And that includes the spring, which we really didn't show in the previous examples, but just make sure every part of the gun is good. Make sure the firing pin's not bent. Make sure the firing pin channel is also clean. I once saw a gun have a slam fire, and when we took it apart, the firing pin channel was so choked up with old frog lube that had gotten in there, it looked like he had packed it with Vaseline. Just do your basic maintenance and cleaning. Clean it, inspect it, make sure it's in good shape, make sure it's in operating condition, and you should never have a slam fire. So now that we've discussed what they are and how to avoid them, hopefully no one out there will ever have to experience a slam fire. Oops.
Go ahead. It's the lady at 46 South Road. 46 South Road.
Station 1 call, retone that please.
10-4.
Got the 4 to go to that location also. This is 1-9, is that correct?